So I wanted to sit down and make this video because it's fresh in my mind and I kind of just want to document this experience because it's important and I think maybe it could help somebody else that's going through or has gone through the same thing, or maybe not even help, just know that you're not alone in this. I know it's really common. So I was pregnant with our third baby. We ended up losing that baby, and this is my story. So I hope this would never happen to me, and honestly I didn't even think it ever would, because my previous 2 pregnancies were perfect with my 2 girls, Livia and Sienna. We even conceived them on our first month trying, both of them. So it never even crossed my mind at that point because we had such good pregnancies. So when we decided that we were open to having our third child, we honestly had it in our minds that we would either conceive right away, like our previous 2 pregnancies, or children, and it would be a great pregnancy like that, or we would just not be blessed that fast again, and we would just keep trying. Those were like the 2 options that I had in my head. That was just the 2 options that I had in my head. So getting pregnant and then losing the baby was never even a thought in my mind. That is until sorry, my baby is bouncing in her bouncer. That was until I was testing and I was seeing the lines. So I ended up having a chemical pregnancy. I hate that term, honestly, but it's what the doctors call it, and the scientific term, I guess, would be a chemical pregnancy because it was before you could see the baby on an ultrasound and you could only be tested and known that you were pregnant through your blood or your urine. Okay. Through your blood or your urine. So, yeah, that's why they call it a chemical pregnancy. But you're actually pregnant. It's not like some chemical thing where you're not really pregnant. You were pregnant. You had a baby and you lost that baby. It was just really early. So what happened was we tried for a baby, and I figured that, and I was hoping that I would get pregnant. So I was testing a lot more than I should have, honestly. I was like super stressed out, more than I was with my girls, my first 2. Like I started testing at like day 4 past ovulation, and I don't understand why I felt so inclined to like test and test and test, and I just get negatives when obviously it was too early. I mean, I know some women can relate to this, that it's just, I don't know. I think I had it in my head that I just wanted control. I wanted so much control over my life that like it had to happen, and I knew it was gonna happen. I just need to test and test and test so that it like would happen. I don't know. It was crazy. tested way more stressed out than my previous ones. So finally, I started getting very faint positive tests. I think it was around, I honestly don't even, I'm thinking it was more like 11, 12 DPO that I finally started getting like the really faint positive. Like, is it there? Like, I can't really tell. Like, I have to really squint and like go like this with it to even like see anything. So like my hopes were getting up. I'm like, yes, like it's happening again. I'm getting pregnant on my first try. Like, I don't know if it's something in me that, I know that a lot of people, or mainly most people, don't get pregnant on their first try. It's just, that's not how it goes. It's usually most people within 3 months, 6 months, like 90% within a year is like the normal. But for me, being pregnant twice, in a row, just, it made that much more stress on me that the next time it needed to be the first time we tried. Because if not, I got pregnant the first time my previous two, so why wouldn't I be getting pregnant the first try now? And I think it's this, like, I have this bar set for myself now that it like has to be the first try. And I started getting a little bit more positive tests. They were still faint, but you could see the line. Sent them to a couple people, they could see the line. And I actually got a digital positive also. So that just pretty much confirmed it for me that I'm pregnant. Like, holy cow, it happened. Like, I'm pregnant the first try again for my third. Like, hallelujah, like amazing. Well, I was very leery about it. I was more cautious and concerned than I was with my past two, because with Livia, my first, I didn't even test until my missed period. So by then, like, the digital was positive, like it was dark, so I was just pregnant. I just knew I was pregnant. Because I was on my honeymoon at the time, vacation, and that's how we found out. So I didn't have really time to like dwell on it or just be like crazy with the tests. So I was more relaxed. With Sienna, I was not as relaxed as I was with Livia, because I started testing. I tested like at 6 DPO, which was obviously negative. And then I waited several days, and then I took a test around 11, 12, and it was a positive. The next day got darker, super dark by the time my period was due, and I just knew I was pregnant. It was awesome. With this one, it was different, which is why I was nervous about it. I tested, and I had a line there. It was faint, but it was there. Tested again the next day, the same. Still there, but it was the same faintness. I tested again that evening. Yeah. I tested again that evening, and it was darker. So I was like, yes, okay, this is like, I'm feeling this is something, like this, it's actually sticking, like the baby's sticking, like this is for real. I tested the next morning, so that was the evening, and then I tested the next morning, and it was lighter. And that's never happened to me before. Never with any of my other 2 pregnancies. It gave me a red flag that something might be wrong. And I was, of course, Googling everything, going to like baby center, like all this crazy stuff, trying to like give me some peace that maybe it wasn't what I was thinking. but in the back of my head, I kind of knew for a while. So I tested that afternoon and it was the same lightness, like the same faintness. Not as dark as the night before, but I took a digital also that evening and it still said pregnant. So I was like, okay, the digital still says pregnant. I'm just going to say I'm pregnant and just, I wanted some peace. I was trying to get some peace, like maybe this isn't what's happening, but I was reading online what was happening to other women and their tests, what their tests looked like, and I just kind of knew that this is what was going to happen. I was technically from my period 4 weeks, 3 days when I took that digital, and it said positive, but my lines were getting fainter from the night before. And so the next day I was like, I'm not taking any more tests. Actually, I didn't even have a test, I don't think. I pretty much ran out all my tests. I spent so much money. And I was like, nope, the digital says I'm pregnant, so I'm just going to trust God that I'm pregnant and just pray. My period hasn't come, so if my period hasn't come, then I'm still in the game and I'm going to trust that I'm actually pregnant. Even though in the back of my head, I kind of knew because, yeah. So, but because it was digital, I told my parents. I pretty much told my whole immediate family, like sister, my husband's family, like siblings and stuff. We told them. But the whole time we were telling them, I was really nervous because I knew that the lines were still faint and they weren't getting dark like my other pregnancies, and I knew something was off. But we told them anyway, and so it was 4 weeks, 4 days. It was 4 weeks, 4 days. The next day, it was in the afternoon that I had a big, I could feel something, and I went to the bathroom and it was a big gush of, oh, what's going on? I basically had a big gush of stuff, and I knew at that point, with my faint lines, with everything I've read online from other women, I just knew, and I like dropped to the ground basically. Well, I mean, I was on the toilet, but I just knew, and I started crying, and it was just, I knew what it was. So I called the doctor. Luckily, I left a message on the doctor's phone because I didn't answer. So the doctor or the nurse basically said I needed to come in right away, like as soon as possible. And because my blood type is Rh negative, so with any pregnancy, if there's any bleeding, I have to go in and get the Rogram shot to make sure that blood doesn't mix with positive blood. And yeah, so, and I totally forgot about that. So luckily I called the doctor, and I didn't wait to see if I bled more. So everybody was working, so I had, but except for my sister. So my sister and her husband came over as fast as they could because it was almost 5 p.m., which is when they closed. So they had to race over here, watch the kids. I raced there and say hello to Sienna. Had to pick her up. So I went there, got the shot, got the blood work done to see what my level was, my hormone level. And, but I basically knew what was going on. But I had stopped bleeding, like it was only that gush. So, and I know that in pregnancies you can have like spotting and stuff. But I knew that wasn't spotting. And with my previous pregnancies, I did not bleed at all. Like, nothing. Not even a little drop, like, at all. So I knew that I knew that I knew. So, it wasn't until the next morning that I woke up and it was heavy bleeding, and I knew by that time what was going on. And I bled the whole day, cramping really, really badly. Sometimes it actually felt like contractions a little bit. It was definitely more cramping than a regular period. And it was that evening, the next day, that the doctor or nurse called. So basically the nurse called me and said that, yeah, you're, after I told her about all the bleeding from that whole day and how heavy it was and the cramping, she's like, yeah, your hormone levels did not look promising. And I'm like, yeah, I pretty much knew that because of my tests and how they were getting faint, or they were still like pretty faint for like days and days. And only one time did it like peak a little bit and then it started going down. But I knew that basically. And then I got the results and I saw that it was, my HCG was at a 5. So that's like 5, I think 5 is like just barely pregnant. I think like if you're at a 4, you're considered like not pregnant at all. So I knew that it obviously was higher. I'm not sure how much HCG has to be in your urine to get a positive. I think it's 25. I think that's what I read. But by the time I took the blood work and I had that gush of blood, it was already at a 5. So I basically knew I was having a miscarriage. I was losing the baby. And I'm a Christian, so I believe that babies are babies at conception. So I was grieving big time because I never thought this would happen to me ever. And I don't know, like it was always a fear because I knew it's common. I know it's common for women, but with it not happening my first 2 pregnancies and it being like so perfect, my first try, everything was great. Like I never imagined that this would be me. And I know a lot of women go through this. Like they go through pregnancies and then they have a miscarriage later on and they're like, what? Like how? I know I've seen people on YouTube that do videos and they've had great pregnancies like me, first try, and then boom, they go for their 3rd or whatever and they have a miscarriage. So it's honestly, it's taken a toll on me mentally. I feel like I was able to be pregnant with these 2 beautiful children and sustain the pregnancy and give birth to them, and I feel like, I think we all can do this. We can blame ourselves and like try and blame ourselves for what happened. And I find myself doing that often. Okay. I find myself doing that often. Which I know it's not my fault. I think to myself, maybe I tried too soon, being open to life. Being open to life, like Sienna, she's only 6 months, so just, I want like more women to know that they're not alone in blaming themselves, even when it's a chemical pregnancy. It was a pregnancy, y'all. It was a baby, okay? And yeah, so we ended up, I still struggle. Like I said, I struggle with it. And I think to myself, I feel like less of a person, even though I don't get it. Like, I've birthed 2 beautiful kids. I have children that I can hold and I can cuddle and I can love on, but this is still another human being that in a perfect world would have been born and would be my child and I would be holding them. And it's not a perfect world, and my baby is in heaven now instead of with me. And I know there's a Bible verse where it's like putting your treasures up in heaven, which I definitely have a treasure in heaven now. But I really want to do a Bible study on this, like miscarriage, pregnancy loss. Like I haven't seen much on like Bible study on miscarriage or like pregnancy, baby loss. So I'm going to do that soon. I'm gonna study and then do that video soon. So be on the lookout for that, because I really think that would be good to do for people. You're so cute. I know that it's really hard for people who go through miscarriage after miscarriage or lose their baby and they don't have any children, like that's their first child and they had a miscarriage. Or I mean, I have a friend on here on YouTube, she went until she was 22 weeks, I think. It was in the 20s, I know that. It was like 20, 22, something like that. And she had, is it considered a I don't think it's not considered a miscarriage, because she birthed that baby and the baby was alive, but because she was still so early, the baby like died within a few minutes or a minute. So like she went through something like crazy hard where she actually birthed her baby and had to hold her baby and all that crazy stuff that I can't even imagine. But at the same time, I also know that my baby at early, like it was early, I was almost 5 weeks. Okay. Like I was almost 5 weeks. Between 4 and 5 weeks. But, okay. But it was still a baby. It was my baby. And so sometimes I feel bad that I'm like grieving and so upset, and like my mental health has like taken a hit a little bit because of it, the way I see myself. Because I know people go through some things that are way harder, I would think. You know, this friend doesn't even have any other children, so she birthed her baby and then she didn't have anyone to hold, you know? So, but I think the comparison thing is really, we shouldn't compare, because they're all babies from conception to birth to right here. Like, it's a baby, it's a child. The DNA is there. The uniqueness is there. It's a child. So, yeah, it's hard for everybody, and I think we all need to like come together and just love on one another, because so many women go through this, but so many women don't want to talk about it because they have, I don't know, I don't really know what it is. Like, people wait until they're 12 weeks to announce. Why? Have you ever asked yourself why? If you're a Christian and you believe that a baby is baby, shouldn't we be excited right when you find out and just like tell it to the world because that baby is a baby? Okay. It's just something to think about, because in the Bible it says, rejoice for those who rejoice and weep for those who weep. So if you keep it bottled inside about this pregnancy just to make sure you get it to when there's less of a risk of miscarriage, but then you lose the baby, that baby was a baby. Doesn't that baby deserve to be known? And don't you want the support to weep with those who weep? Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think society has it like totally twisted to where it only matters if the baby's going to live, and if not, then we need to keep it secret. You know what I mean? This is just coming from a Christian perspective. I don't know. So I announced it because my baby's a baby. I was 4 weeks, 4 days when I lost the baby. I hate the word miscarriage too. Baby's a baby. I lost the baby at 4 weeks and 4 days. Okay. I lost my baby at 4 weeks, 4 days. It was a baby. God knew before that baby was ever conceived that it was going to be a baby, and knew the days. It was just very short days, and the baby is in heaven, and I believe that with all my heart, and I believe your children are in heaven with all of my heart. So, but that's my story, and I'm afraid to try again, to be honest. I need to read the Bible more about like having peace and trust and faith, because after having a miscarriage like that, it's scary. Like, you want to be pregnant, but then you're scared to be pregnant at the same time because you're scared that it's going to happen again. And I know lots of women go through it. But I've also heard a lot of women that go through a chemical pregnancy, lose the baby early, and then the next month get pregnant, like the very next cycle get pregnant and have beautiful babies like this, or even twins. I heard that twins are like a thing. So I think it's something about, oh, don't be upset. I think it's something about hyperovulation or something that happens. I don't know. I'm actually still going through this pregnancy loss right now. Through this whole week I've been miscarrying, and I actually go in tomorrow to my doctor again to take to get some more blood work done to make sure that my HCG level has gone down and that everything looks good. But I'm pretty much like, I'm tapering off on my bleeding, so I just wanted to make this video fresh. As it's fresh, I wanted to share this story with you guys so you don't feel alone. Maybe you feel some like courage and confidence to tell your own story. And yeah, maybe we can just encourage one another through this, because I know a lot of women have chemical pregnancies and miscarriages in general and lose their babies, and it's so sad. And it's so sad. So the Bible study will be soon. I am going to start working on it and hopefully get a video out, because I think that's really important. I haven't seen much on Bible studies with for pregnancy loss. I think that would be really good to do. And yeah, that was my story. I hope this brings you comfort and makes you feel like you're not alone. Definitely leave your stories in the comments or send a link to me so I can watch yours. We're in this together, this trying to conceive journey together. I still want another baby, even though Sienna, she's 6 months old. I want them close together because I'm in the baby stage already. So, and we definitely want one more, and at least one more. And I really want my rainbow baby now. Like, I want my rainbow baby, I think. And I just pray that whatever God's will is, that's what will happen. And I just pray that I can have a successful pregnancy again, a third one. It would be a blessing. So I hope this helped you guys, and I will see you guys in my next video. Say bye. Can you say bye? Boop, boop, boop. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Hey, look at the camera. Do you see yourself? Do you see yourself? Look at over here. Over here. Sienna, over here. Look at. Do you see yourself? Look at. Do you see yourself? Hey, a bookaboo. Hi, baby. Hi.